Welcome to the third workshop for KidStudio. So this one specifically is about where and how to begin the process. So when do we begin producing pieces with our students? When do we begin having them create an idea and convert it to music? So just to recap from last time for the second workshop, what is KidStudio? So as you all know, it's a program where students learn how to convert emotions and experiences into music. Summer is around the corner for a lot of our students, so you can already expect some of these to be in play very soon. And then your process, I break it down into 3 simple steps. So we have your ideation or the planning/brainstorming period. Then you have your timeline, how long is this going to take? And then finally, your execution or your production. So this workshop is going to get into the nitty-gritty and really figure out how we can include every student into this program. So scenarios, we have different schedules. A lot of us see students every single day or 5 days a week. Some of us see students 1 to 2 times a week, whether they're in Kaizen or whether they're just a beginner and don't have a lot of time to play piano because they have other extracurricular activities. So what we're going to focus on is how can we include these students and even these students up here. It's pretty common to include students who we see every single day. But then it goes into your comprehension, which is the next category to look at. So how are lessons going with our students? Is there witness growth? Are we seeing them progress very well? Are they stuck somewhere, or are they not that attentive? Are things happening? And then finally, when to begin, which is the bulk of today's presentation. When do we begin KidStudio? So do we do this when class participation is low? So when they're not as involved? Do we start when we start to see consistency falling? Do we do this when we notice that, hey, our students coming 2 days a week, but they're scheduled for 5? Why is it just 2 days a week? Was there a class project, or did they just not want to come anymore? That's a huge red flag, and you can catch them very quickly. And then lastly, lessons are becoming repetitive. On the bright side, lessons can be very good, right? They're going very, very well. They're just repetitive, and we need to switch it up because they are children. We want to make sure that they're really having a fun time with us here at Oclef. So how can we incorporate KidStudio, and when do we do this? So we're going to go ahead and just look at a couple examples here. So for the first one, let's say that we have a student who's coming twice a week, 2 days a week. They can be 15-minute lessons or 30-minute lessons each day. So let's say that they're doing very well. So we're witnessing their growth, right? It's really good. But we're noticing that it's not as consistent. They're coming every 2 days, but maybe every 2 weeks they have to be out because, I don't know, something personal. Their parents like to travel a lot, or they have a lot of class projects, or they're year-round school, whatever it may be. It's very consistent, but every 2 weeks they have to miss 1 day. So how do we include KidStudio in this scenario? Well, the first thing I want to do is make sure that the things that they're doing well, keep that up. But wherever they're struggling, figure out why they're struggling with that concept. Let's say it's, let's say it's rhythms. So if they like music, they really enjoy it, they love having us as a professor, but they're just struggling with their rhythms. What we can do is ask them, hey, what specifically are you having trouble with within your rhythms? And then we can even pick analogies, like we probably already do. We can take things from outside of music and incorporate that in. Specifically, ask them what they like outside of piano. You can usually, I do this all the time, you can usually just pick something that they really like, pair it with rhythms, and then it will help them retain the information better. So let's see, for example, with their rhythms, let's say that they're just not understanding, they understand the quarter notes, half notes, or whole notes, but when we get to the 8th notes and maybe even the 16ths, that's when it's getting a little wacky for them, like what's going on, all these beams, I'm not following. So what we can do is pair those different instances with something that they enjoy, or something that they can just pair it with. So when it comes to KidStudio, we can use any instrument on the digital audio workstation or the DAW. Let's say that we can use percussion instruments. This piece will be percussion heavy. So your piano will be your main melody. They can come up with this, or you can do it yourself. And when it comes to the rhythms, you can choose hi-hats for your 8th notes and 16ths. Let's say they like bongos. We can use bongos and even the snare drum for triplets and heavily syncopated rhythms and patterns. And then, of course, your kick drum or the bass, we can use that to display your half notes, quarter notes, and even your whole notes. So when you really break things down and categorize them, students will understand them a lot better. So this will help them a lot in that scenario. All right, so for the next scenario, let's say a student is seen 5 days a week. Let's say that lessons aren't going so well. They were at first, but they hit a wall for some reason. And that leads to lessons becoming very repetitive. Okay, so let's say lessons are repetitive in a sense that they're playing through the book, but it's just song after song. And you can tell they're not really interested in the time being. Let's say for Witness and Growth, they just hit a wall. They're not understanding something because every piece, they're kind of doing the same thing and you're hoping they snap out of it. You're telling them what to do. They're doing the right things. You're switching up your teaching style if you need to. You're giving examples, but it's just not clicking for them for whatever reason, right? There are many analogies out there, and maybe the first three just didn't hit for them. Maybe it just wasn't really letting that light bulb go off. So we need to try it a different way. Maybe it's time for KidStudio. So every single day, this is really good. I love how students who are seen 5 days a week. I love the scenario when students, how do I say this? I love when we use KidStudio for students who are seen every single day, because it's a good balance. They still have their one-on-one lessons, and then they're also able to weave KidStudio in. With 1 to 2 days a week, it's still very possible. It may be a little tricky because I barely see you. I want to make sure that we're teaching you how to read music on a staff. I want to make sure that you understand the different concepts there are before I bring other things in that are not entirely different. They're still music related, but they're not really related to the piano specifically. It'll help you play piano, but we're taking a little detour. I don't want that to throw you off even more. So with the first example, it's obviously possible, but it's ideal to have your 5 days a week, have them really focus on their piano instruction every day, but just to weave in some KidStudio, if you will, just to help them to boost or supplement, as you will. So for whatever reason, they're not understanding intervals. It's just intervals. They constantly hit a fifth when they see 1/5. It needs to be a seventh. It needs to be a sixth. It needs to be an octave, but they just look at the numbers. We've told them, hey, look at the numbers, look at the notes. And it's just, for whatever reason, they just forget sometimes. It's fine. So let's say that we are going to look at, we're going to pair it with something that jumps, something that skips, something that leaps. Think of anything. Bouncy balls, think of animals. We'll ask them this. For the sake of time, let's just say they mentioned they named the frog. Okay, they chose a frog. So we'll say, I don't know, there's 4 frogs, a little family. So we have baby frog, big sis or big brother. We have mama frog and papa frog. Okay, so what we can do is pick that image, have images of 4 frogs, right? Pick a baby frog, big sis frog or big sister, mama frog and papa frog, and pair them each with a different interval on the staff. When they see the frog with the staff, they're going to start pairing them together. Let's say baby frog can only leap to over 1 pad. That's a third, okay? Let's say big sis can do a 4th, so on and so forth. We have a 5th and then a 6th. Well, we'll skip 5th. We'll go from 6 is mama frog and 7th is papa frog. Then we can create a scenario, right? They can create a storyline. We can have fun with it. So this is where KidStudio is obviously happening, right? They're creating something based off, in this case, the experience is not understanding intervals. So we're using something, it's an experience, not what we may have thought of, something that they're doing outside of lessons, but we can definitely pick an experience within our lessons. Their experiences are having a hard time with intervals. So when you really break things down like this for them, it's going to be fun because they are the one guiding everything, right? We gave them that mic. They're explaining things from their shoes, and we're able to see where they're struggling more closely than before. So this is what I mean with KidStudio. It's a supplement. Don't think of it as something that's completely different. It's just a supplement. Some people may think, oh, how can I incorporate, or some of us are confused on how to include KidStudio when we're so busy with our lessons. Don't see this as something that you have to do apart from your lessons. Bring this into your lessons. Weave this thread into your lessons. And I've seen these 3 things happen, and it's amazing, right? Some of our professors are the best out there, and they already keep students attentive, right? They already talk to parents. With KidStudio, this is going to only enhance that. It's going to keep them attentive. It's going to also enhance their creativity, right? Instead of just creating piano pieces, which are really fun, they can even add a remix to that, or they can even add in other instruments that they didn't realize were really out there, or they didn't realize, oh, I didn't know you guys use other instruments as well. I want to go ahead and try that too. So it really blossoms them, if you will. It really enhances that creativity. And then finally, my personal favorite, it increases parent engagement, right? When parents see their children doing very well, they get excited for them, right? They know that they're doing something well, they're dipping their toes into something new, and they want to see them take off with it, right? They want to see them take flight. So when parents are aware of what's going on and it's something good for their sons and daughters, they're going to want to pay more attention. They're going to be more engaged as well. It's always nice when I have a parent who, texts me or they email me and say, hey, we just watched the episode. Our son loved it. This is really cool. Thanks for letting them do this. It feels really good, right? Because we're not just teaching them piano, but we're engaging with the parents as well. We're not teaching the parent piano, we're teaching their son or their daughter. So it feels good when we're hearing more from the parents. It's one thing to say, hey, they went to the next book. Now they're on level 2A. They went from 1 to 2A and then to 2B. It sounds good, but when they really hear like, hey, they're also doing this. They also just wrote their own song. It's on YouTube. Let's go watch it. Here's the link. It gives them more things to look forward to. So that's pretty much what this workshop entails. Just help them tap into their creativity. Don't just teach them things from the book, but really have them tell you what they want, and then you can weave in the lessons into what they're interested in. That's what KidStudio is all about, helping them tap into their creativity through what they enjoy. Let's not force what we want on them, but let's have them tell us what they want, and then we can include what it is they need. So that's all we have time for today. So feel free to leave comments down in the comment box, and then I will get to them when I can. But thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all soon.